got the booster shot, and then I started running a high fever. Sunday, well, actually Monday nights and yesterday, so, and I've had this cough for like 2 months, so, trying to get rid of that, so I don't know, it might not be COVID, it might be just the
sometimes the flu, Larry, there's enough crud out there, but I wish you well.
Yeah.
Still a great backdrop. I love your San Francisco backdrop.
What's that?
I love that San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge backdrop you have.
Yeah. So, have you been to San Francisco? It's a pretty nice place, right?
Love it. I've got a picture of that view for real.
Yeah, oh, do you? Yeah.
With that kind of fog in the background.
You just tell me when you're ready, sir.
No, go ahead. No, you go right ahead. By the time you're finished with that, I'll have the rest of it.
Sounds like we're ready.
Yeah, I think so. I was trying,
Larry,
a little problem getting in. I clicked on the meeting a couple times. I wasn't able to get in, and finally it let me through.
What do I need to do?
Me too. Yeah, it said not started yet.
Yeah.
But, oh, technology. Well, you're nice to be on. I know you're not feeling well.
Yeah.
Oops, I just lost it.
There you go.
He's got his set up on. We're going, yeah, you go ahead. We're going to have a talk about these speakers, though.
Okay, all right. Welcome to the January 26th meeting of the Rotary Club of West Jacksonville. Zoom attendees, please mute yourself and submit any questions via the chat function. Our invocation will be given by President-elect Sean Asma, and then Will Tesh will lead us in the pledge.
Good afternoon, everybody. Rotary recently marked another milestone when we elected its first female president, Jennifer Jones. In honor of that milestone, I've loosely pulled today's invocation from her vision and goals statement. So please join me in a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, as we gather today, as always, we thank you for our health, wealth, and safety. We acknowledge that in order to live in the kind of society that we want, we have to help build it. As we do that, we would ask that you help us always remain rooted in the core tenets set by our founders, the objects of Rotary and the four-way test, and that you would help us use those tenets to increase our impact through Rotary's strategic plan and expand our outreach by engaging the entire family of Rotary at every age, gender, and culture to create a lasting change. Oh, Father, during this pandemic, we've shown our ability to adapt and lead. We ask that you would continue to strengthen us to serve, just as we have in the past, with some of the world's most pressing issues: health and welfare, the environment, diversity and inclusion, youth development and enrichment, so that we may continue to lead when the rest of the world cannot. And on this day, as this grateful group of Rotarians, friends, and guests meets on the banks of the St. Johns River, We also ask that you bless this meal to the nourishment of our bodies and us to your service. Amen.
Fellow Rotarians, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the greatest country on earth. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, President-elect Sean. Thank you, Will. I want to send out a special thank you to our greeter today, past president, past district governor, Jerry McCool. Give Jerry a hand, please. Thanks, sir. Lee Davis has a pop-up.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to invite all of you to our upcoming Valentine's Social. We'll be on Wednesday, February the 16th at the Cross Creek Steakhouse. So we have a couple of goals here for us to have some fun and get together. It's also a great opportunity to invite guests, maybe future members. And the third thing, I haven't decided what charitable event we may honor at this one. For instance, we did diapers a couple of months ago. We did school supplies. They were very successful. So if you have any suggestions of a charity you'd like to work with us on that day, please see me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Ryler was rescheduled to February 26th. And good news today, we have a couple of Blue Badge awards. I'd like to ask Will Tesh and Tom Snyder to come to the front. Trade out their red badges for blue. Thank you. All right, sounds good. Very much. Congratulations. Dr. Thornton has family of Rotary. Is he on Zoom?
Yes, I am. I'm up here on Zoom. Thanks, President Ike. One birthday this week. Barry Allred is on February 1st. Just a couple of sad notes. An old member and past president of our club, Mark Frost, veterinarian, just recently passed away after an illness, and he was president the 1991-1992 year. So please keep Mark, his family in your prayers. One other sad note, Robert Pavelka lost his dad recently. Lynn Pavelka, it was a great obituary. I got to say, it was a great obituary in today's Times Union. But Lynn Pavelka was a celebrated World War II vet, submariner, and passed away at the age of 97, leaving lots of friends and admirers. And after the sad notes, one quick bit of pediatric humor to, from my standpoint. This is actually a story from one of our, my senior partner, Jim Lanier Sr. is our, his dad, his son, Jimmy, was in our club, is one who actually got me into Rotary. But Jim Lanier Sr. was a former member of our club and told me more good pediatric stories. And this was a true story of a call he got. It's from a mom, real worried at night, called him after hours and said, "Dr. Lanier, my son just ate 3 pennies. What should I do?" And Dr. Lanier, just wise old doc, said, "Don't worry about it. He'll pass them in a day or two." Said, she called back 2 days later and said, all nervous, said, "Dr. Lanier, my son just pooped out 3 dimes. What should I do?" Dr. Lanier, without missing a beat, said, "I just keep feeding that kid pennies." That concludes my report.
Thank you, man. Great job. I did also want to note Meredith Smith and Shep College, 2 of our members, are also out sick. Nothing serious, but just keep them in your prayers. I would like to ask the club to recognize a moment of silence for Dr. Mark Frost and Lynn Pavel. Thank you.
what's an idea and tell them if they're gonna have a service.
I don't have any updated information about Mark Frost's service. As soon as we get any information, Patty will be sending it out. Does anybody know anything about Mark Frost? You're gesticulating, not waving. Okay, all right, good. Okay, all right. I would now like to turn the meeting over to our Sergeant of Arms.
President, I thank you very much. And, you know, Rotary is like the constellation of stars. And you see all the influence, all of the folks that have had such an impact on our world. And many of them have association with this club. And I'm really honored that we, you know, take our time to think of those that are no longer with us. And we'll continue to think of them. So President Ike, I thank you very much for that. You know, I'm always privileged to be able to welcome visiting Rotarians and guests. We don't have any today, so that means that you're stuck with me and more lousy jokes, but I put a lot of time and effort into these jokes, and so hopefully I'll be able to entertain some of your humor expectation level. Before I get to that, special thanks to Joe Springer, who's always ensuring that we're wired for sound live every single week. How about for Joe Springer?
Yeah.
Our Rotary Air Traffic Control with Patty and Stu doing a great job of ensuring our members arrive safely, depart safely. A round of applause for them. And I tell everybody, when we have the Mount Rushmore of Rotarians back in our club, greeting members like Jerry McCool, it's a special day. Jerry, it's always great to see you. Thank you again for blessing us with your presence today. So certainly we're going to get to our speaker in just a moment, and I'll turn it over to Jeff Rayner for the introduction. But I thought that I would share the top 5 jokes of today that are related to motor vehicles. So let's see how I do. First joke of the day. A guy walks into a bar and demands to know who's the strongest guy in here. The toughest guy looks at him and says, I am the strongest around here. The other guy politely asks, well, can you help me push my car to the gas station? Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Oh, there we go. This next joke, I assure you, is in good taste. I do. A blonde, a brunette, and a redhead are in a desert. I wish I was blonde or was a brunette or redhead, because I have nothing up here. I have nothing up there. The brunette says, I brought some water to the desert so we don't get dehydrated. The redhead says, I brought some suntan lotion so we don't get sunburned. And the blonde says, I brought a car door. The other girls look at each other in disbelief and they ask, why did you bring that? The blonde says, so I can roll down the window if it gets hot. All in good taste, all in good taste. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on my 3rd joke, so we're halfway there. I was actually, believe it or not, I was reversing my car in my garage the other day, and I asked my son, you know, spot me, just spot me, okay? And let me know when I hit the wall. Bang! 3:45 p.m., my son says. Thank you, Kathy and Jackie, for leading the laughter on that joke. 2 more jokes. You know, 100 years ago, everyone owned a horse and only the rich had cars. Today, everyone owns cars and only the rich own horses. The stables have turned. And ladies and gentlemen, to round out this horrific presentation of jokes on this day, the top 5 joke of today. I just made my last car payment. I still owe a lot, but I'm not paying anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my Sergeant of Arms report for today. And thank goodness it's over. I'd like to now turn it over to Jeff Rayner. Jeff, come on up the podium. How about a round of applause for Jeff?
How to follow that, right? Hey, but good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce my boss and friend, Kevin Snyder with Duval Motor Company. He's going to give us a talk today on the automotive state of the union and the uncertain times. Kevin's got 32 years in the car business and was in the Navy, but way back when. He's worked for the Scott McRae Duval Motor Company since 2003 and currently holds the title of Vice President of Automotive Dealerships. We currently have 5 new car stores, a Ford store, Honda, Acura, Subaru of Gainesville, and our most recent addition, Chevrolet Star. He's the current president of the Jacksonville Automotive Dealers Association. And most important, he's married to Sandy, has 3 daughters, and he has a new grandbaby. So let's give a warm word of welcome to Mr. Kevin Snyder.
How we doing? Test 1, 2, 3. We good? And it is hard to follow that great presentation and jokester. I just hope the 3 dimes are keeping up with inflation. And that's my little road in the joke in there. Can we still hear me okay with it being this way? We get there. And Kevin, if it is easier for you to navigate the audio, you can also take the microphone off of the stand too, because I know it has a tendency to dip. So if you would like to hold it, we can certainly help you with that. If that's more suitable for you, it's your preference here. Probably this way. That's right, perfect. So figure out feeling a little bit of dead air, Kevin. I'll send it back to you. It's a little shameless plug that I keep all of our dealerships listed up here for you guys. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Jeff had asked me to come out. First and foremost, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Jerry's pleasure to see you, meet you. Thank you so much for being a great reader today at the door. So we appreciate that. My name is Kevin Snyder. As Jeff said, I'm the Chief Operating Officer of a dealership, the Scott McRae Motor Group. We've been around since about 1916. Most of you guys know us as Duval Ford Honda. Again, my shameless plug. Duval Chevrolet is a recent purchase, Subaru in Honda, and we have a government entity that Richard Tackett, we Rotarians here, that heads up that division for us inside our group, and Dana Safety Supply is another one of our divisions, and we have an auto credit finance division inside our company. Jeff asked me to talk a little bit about the State of the Union. We were talking about chips. Hey, Kevin, will you come and talk about maybe the chip shortage? And I just kind of wanted to throw the Mark Twain quote out there. I'm an expert. You know, an expert is an ordinary fella from another town. And I'm not your expert here today. I'm not from Silicon Valley. I'm not coming to you from Ford or Chevrolet, the manufacturer, to give you great detail and depth. I just wanted to share kind of what people ask me about the State of the Union, what they see when they try to buy a car, what they see when they drive by a car dealership, and they ask me certain questions. So I thought I'd just address that for you guys this afternoon. Jeff also said, be brief. So I will try to be as brief and as informative as I can. But the little bio, my hair looked a lot better. It's slowly falling away. So it was about, you know, what people ask me, and so what inquiring minds want to know, what do my friends, family, you know, what do you want to know about the automobile industry? And generally, it's not like how many cars you guys are going to sell in the nation this year. It's generally like, why can I get a car? What's the best deal? Am I getting a good deal? What's the best time to buy a car? Hey, am I getting a good deal? Hey, what's my car worth? You know, so there's a lot of questions people ask me. But in these COVID times, the questions are different. And they wanted to know, you know, why are microchips so important? What's this all about? Because I hear that's why you guys don't have cars. What started the chip shortage? You know, how did this thing begin to, you know, what's the deal? What's up with chips? How long is this thing going to last? What's affected by the chips? You know, when will this inventory stable? When will we see more cars? And the answer would say it's the world's changed since COVID, and the way you buy a car will be totally different moving forward post-COVID, totally different. And manufacturers are pushing that way, and I'll talk briefly about that today. Should I buy a car now? Should I wait? And if I can't, if it's time to wait, I would tell you to a degree, and I'm in the car business. That's why I say I hope there's no car dealers here, because I would tell you, if you counter to who I am, because we sell cars, I would tell you there may be an advantage to waiting. But if you can't wait, what do you do? So that's what my clients ask me. That's inquiring minds. So I thought I'd go through that with you guys. So the first question came up, you know, hey, what's a microchip? You know, here's a
Webster's Dictionary, if you want to know, and you may or may not know, again, I'm not from Silicon Valley, but it's a computer chip, it's an integrated circuit. And I will tell you, they take about, here's the issue. They take about 3 or 4 months from design to production to make. They require a lot of water to be involved in the production of a chip. There's a lot of thing that goes into chip and design. And so why don't we just build a whole bunch more? We had a bunch of chips and now they're not there. And I'll kind of address that and tell you why we're in the state that we're in terms of the car business. What goes into, what do microchips go into? And if anybody's done any study, somebody said they did a little education last night. They were trying to find out what's going on inside the car industry before I spoke. Man, I hope you didn't do that. You probably know more than I do. But what chips go into just about everything you guys have, your telephones, your boat motors, transmissions, you name it. They go into airplanes, light bulbs, cameras, coffees, tanks. Chips go into a lot of different things. And the main thing they go on my side of the house is they go into automobiles. And they go into automobiles at, somebody said, how many chips would be in an automobile? And so I love to quote different sources. So the New York Times says that there's about 100 semiconductors in a single automobile or more. That's probably the biggest challenge. And then there's another shameless plug to the Bronco. The new Bronco is out. So I thought I'd throw it up there for you as well. But all the new touch screens and technologies and things that go into automobiles are what drive the chips. Now, why is there a chip shortage? So I have the answer for you. If you're a conspiracy theorist, maybe some in the room, I don't know, that COVID happened for a reason. That this guy named Bill Gates said, hey, let's program these chips and stick them with people, we'll put it in the vaccine, and they caused a shortage. That's not what happened. I'll tell you what happened in our industry, what happened in your business, what's impacting your life is COVID and the perfect storm. There's a limited amount of chip manufacturers in our world. About 35 that produce all the chips throughout the world. And a third of those come out of a place we call Taiwan. I'm not gonna say related, but closely tied to China, right? Majority of chips come out of Taiwan. During COVID, our companies, we screwed up as manufacturers. We were scared. We were scared that, what are we gonna do? So we ramped down production because we thought there would be no cars. And so we canceled orders. The demand when people went inside their house for technology, the home technology, computers, cameras, increased. And then we had, and I apologize for being off target here, but the demand for the home technology inside, so they're bringing chips, is further exasperated because we were staying in our house. That gamers, your kids were at home. And all your PlayStations, your Xboxes, and everything else. So the demand for these chips became more and more dominant. And so the manufacturers who manufactured chips retooled their companies, retooled their manufacturing sites to focus on that piece of the business. Here's the conspiracy theory. So if you're into that, there might have been some chips in the serum. I would tell you, so you have all this going on in the world, and all of a sudden, a chip plant that provides a huge percentage of chips to the automobiles catches on fire. Isn't that weird? The American production chips, which is Intel, which is in Texas, became a winter storm. So that slowed the production down. Fire, winter storm, COVID, and I told you chips are kind of a lot of water usage. So there was a drought in Taiwan. And I told you Taiwan's a third of what the chips come from. And so therefore, that's what's caused the chip shortage. So my goal today wasn't to get knee deep and tell you that the industry is not going to sell so many cars or X cars. How does it impact me as an individual? And that's kind of what I was going to share with you today. Why do we have no inventory on the ground? If you ask one of the questions that they had asked was, you know, when's it going to end, Kevin? When are we going to have more inventory? And the answer is just, I would tell you that this thing, I was just talking to Richard earlier, and there may be some fake news on the table, I don't know. But, you know, Bill Ford, CEO of Ford, they're all sitting up at Capitol Hill right now to find out that they're telling they may not have chips until 2023. And they only have like a short day's supply, you know, not even a month's supply of chips. And that may be rumored, I don't know. If you look at Qualcomm says it's very optimistic that they'll start to see things move forward in terms of getting chips. But if you talk to Intel, they'll tell you that this thing's going to go deep, deep, deep until 2023. And I would tell you, just based on inventory, just based on what I know, when people ask me about cars, that you're probably not going to see great car inventory on the ground until the latter part of 2022. Anybody bought a new car recently? Don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. We'll talk about it in just a second.
I had to wait 18 months.
Say again? 18 months for a car. And so that's the deal now. So how do you buy a car futuristic? What's it look like? What's the delay? What's the time frame? How should I act when I buy a car? You know, but it's impacted my business. And so that's kind of the talk today was, you know, how does it impact the business? And so now I'm talking to the next slide. I'm sorry, you're keeping up with me. Thank you. These are some predictions, and I just want to talk to those briefly. So vehicle demand will remain, and I say demand, and I underline demand because the demand's there. You know, at Ford today, we have over 400 orders. We sell about 90 cars. So here's the time frame, and we'll get to that in a second. But we have about 400 orders already in our order bank, and we sell about 90 cars a month. So assuming we're going to get those cars and fulfill those orders, if you're looking for a car, it's more, right? But even longer. But if you're looking for a car, we do have clients that are coming out to our dealerships and they have a desire to get a car and they want to see the current model, or they want to drive one so they can get one, or they give the car to their grandkid now they're there to buy the new car. Well, that's the norm that we're used to. Post-COVID, it's just not happening. You're 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 18 months out in some cases. So be prepared when you go in this. The demand's out, the demand as high as it's ever been, still money in the street. There's just not a lot of inventory on the ground. Used vehicles, if you are going to do something, anybody here have a pre-owned car? And hopefully everybody drove one that's pre-owned, right? It's worth more today than it's ever been worth as a used car in the history of the automobile business, period. It's worth more. Today, I sell new cars. Now, very few dealers, and I'll talk to that in a minute, and I'm not trying to sell you anything or boast up our stores. I sell new cars for less than your used car is worth in some instances. You may be holding on to a 21 F-250 today, and if I sold you a new one, I'd probably given you 8, 9, 10, in some cases $18,000 more for your vehicle than you paid for it because of the shortage. So is it a good time to buy a car? I'll address that. Tight supply will gradually improve. This is coming from Cox Automotive, guys. EV, electronic vehicles, they're going to be more and more dominant in your space. If you go by a Wawa, you go anywhere in town right now, you see a bunch of groupies hanging out, right? They're all hanging out around the charging stations, you know, and they're talking and chatting, having coffee. That's the new norm that you'll see with vehicles moving forward. There'll still be a desire to have cars that burn fossil fuels, but predominantly you'll see more and more cars electrified, hydrogen cells, things of that nature. So you'll see a lot of that moving into the future. There is inflation. You know, we talked about the baby date, 3 pennies and had 3 dimes, right? So there's inflation out there, and that's going to continue to see rise in our economy right now. I can only tell you that now because if you're buying a car now and you plan to finance it, the rates are still fairly competitive, fairly low, but I predict towards the end of the year that these rates will probably increase. Lease demand. Cars are more expensive.
So if you're out buying a car today, they cost more. So you have to find a different way to, if you're not paying cash for it, you're financing it. And that's not an option for your budget. Lease will become more and more attractive. And as I told you, used car values are good right now. So lease is probably the option for some folks. And I wouldn't rule it out. Old school used to say that, my father never leased a car. I drive a lot of miles. There's a lot of reasons why you would lease a car. I wouldn't rule that out. Do some research. The consumer shift, and this is the biggest thing that I could share with you, the consumer shift to online buying is going to be huge. It's probably going to be the way you'll more buy a car today than walking into the dealership. I just got off I'm on a committee to steer for Acura, they have an electrical vehicle coming out in 2024. And they want to do it completely online on a website, similar to Apple. Everybody pays the same price. It's not competitive. Don't shop 18 different dealers to see if there's a better deal somewhere. You just buy it online, they'll deliver it in your home. Anybody here drive a Tesla? There we go, right? So Tesla is kind of the Tesla model, and so dealers are looking at that. What caused that? I don't know that, I think we were going there to begin with, but since we had COVID, everybody's there now. Manufacturers are scrambling to get there, and they're scrambling to get there fast. The direct-to-consumer model has forced us as dealers to react. And so all the on-car buying systems that you see in place now will become more in your space. You'll be ordering a vehicle. If you want an F-250, you'll be going to auto shows. You'll be going to a dealer to drive a demo. And if anybody bought cars 45 or 50 years ago, that's how we bought. Went down, seen it, saw the model, got in it. That's the changes going on in your industry right now. Again, I told you I have a lot of statistics, not from Silicon Valley to talk about chips. So I'm talking about some realities that happen with my clients, with my friends when they ask. And replacing a pre-owned car with a new car. So when you're considering today, if you're buying a car, and again, I challenge you guys to do your research. I'm not here to talk on behalf of my dealers, because this is car dealer, counter sales. What I'm trying to tell you is that dealers today, MSRP is your manufacturer's suggested retail price. And they suggested to sell it for $64,000. Dealers just chose to sell it for $74,000 to take advantage of you in a climate where there's not a lot of inventory. So if you're doing research and you have a pre-owned car, remember what I told you, your pre-owned car is worth more than it's ever been worth. And if you know dealers, and there's several of them, in Northeast Florida that don't mark up, if you will, or don't have what we call a air-full bump sticker, right? If you're interested in buying a car and you're looking at a new car, trading a new, now is probably the best time to ever buy a car. Planet Earth, rates are there, car's worth more, get a good dealer working with you. I would tell you, if you were considering it over the next 6 months, you might want to do it now. The issue is availability, the 18 months. If you're going to wait 18 months for a car, you've been doing this a year ago, right? So there's a lot of that to consider. So if you're looking to trade a car, you may want to do it now. Replacing pre-owned to pre-owned. Again, this is counter sales to me, but I want to just kind of talk to you the truth about what my friends asked me, that this is like having your house is worth $500,000 a year ago, but it's worth $1 million now. So you sell it, but where do you get it, right? And you don't have the next house to go to, because that $500,000 house that you saw, the $1 million home you wanted to move to, is now $2 million. And so here's the deal, that a pre-owned car today is very, very similar to that. And if you're considering pre-owned today, you may want to consider going into maybe a lesser year, like 16, 17, or 18. But if you're in the 20, 21, 22, and Jeff's going to say, Kevin, what are you doing? Right? It may not be the optimal time right now. And if you can wait, you saw a previous slide that used car values will start to slide down, but that also means the value of your car is sliding down. So keep that in mind. Another shameless plug, I'm the president of Jacksonville Automobile Dealers Association here in Jacksonville. Our auto show that we sponsor that does a lot of stuff for charities, and we support a lot of issues that go on with our car dealers, is on February 17th to the 20th. If you're considering a car, the issue today with car dealers, as you guys know, when you drive by, there's no inventory. And so the auto show is kind of one of the ways. I'm not saying JADA's auto show, but an auto show. If you happen to be out in Vegas and they have the show, that's your opportunity to go. If you were considering a new car and they just didn't have it available, go check it out. You know, Ford Bronco is one of the hottest vehicles on planet Earth right now in our Ford store. MDX Type S is one of the hottest vehicles in our Acura store. I have a Ford that you can drive. It's not always available, and I don't even have an Acura Type S. I even show you, I can tell you about. I can show you pictures, but those are available at shows. That's your opportunity to do those. And I encourage you guys to do that. Do we have anybody that leases a vehicle in this room? A lot of leasers. And so leasing has become a better way to get more car for your money. However, when you get to your lease term, again, I'm probably going to burn in heck, you know, because this is kind of counter dealer, right? So when you go to turn your lease in, it's the most exciting thing for a car dealer right now, because I just told you that used cars, they're worth more than they've ever been in their entire history in the automobile business, period. So your residual, what you can buy the car for, maybe $26,000. But the lease turn-in that technically is yours to buy, right? If you have that option, maybe worth $36,000. It's also your trade equity. Not everybody wants to share the dirty little secret of, let's turn that to you, get your new lease. Okay, that's good. And press R3 copies, great to see that, love it, right? So I share that because if you're leasing today, leasing's a kind of way to get more car, but keep track of what goes on inside your lease. There is Carvanas in the world. There's such websites as Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offers. You can put your car in there. If you just bought a car from me, don't put it in. No, but you can put your car in there and get a car value. And if your residual is $26,000, but this source says, hey, I'll buy your car for $36,000 based on what you told me it was, that's your $10,000 in your lease. So keep that in mind. The other thing you want to be concerned about on the lease side of our house is that if you have a definitive time when you come to the end, you're 3 months out, and I just told you you're 18 months out to get a car. What are you going to do in the lease terms? And so that's something you need to be thinking about. 90, in some cases 6 months out. What's the next steps? And call your finance folks and let them know that you may want to extend your lease, because that is a possibility. And I want to go month to month if they let you. If they don't let you, then just extend it to 6 months where most take you to. What's changed in a very brief, almost finished here, but what's changed because of semiconductors, what's changed because of COVID, and I just shared with you buying online, is like we call them constraints, but if you order vehicles today, and I have a Ford Bronco, if you start to order a lot of different equipment, if you will, what we call the unicorn, manufacturers are going to start only taking these chips, right, that are out there, because you just heard a little rumor that may be true, might not be true. What do we do with the chips we do have? We're going to put them in the fastest moving turning cars that we make, not the purple Honda Odyssey with 6.5 seats in it, right? This is not going to happen. So they're going to put those. So when you're ordering a vehicle, it's important that you kind of read through what's selling, what's not selling, and having that conversation. I will share the quick story. I ordered a Ford Bronco with a hard top with a Sasquatch package, with the big engine and the big screen, and they told me 2024. You know, hey, but I kind of run a Ford dealership in 2024. You know, and I had a lady walk in and she said, hey, I'll take one with cloth seats, cloth top, small engine, small screen. And we told her 2024. And Ford built it in 4 weeks. It's the constraints, it's commodities. And so it's important that you know those type of things. So then I said, because my Bronco's sitting right out here, whatever she is having, I'll have some of that. So I have a soft top, small engine, small screen Bronco. The only other thing I can tell you when, you know, when it's consideration, just have patience. It's very easy when you walk into a car dealer, because you're used to, I don't know if it's the 5 Ps, they call it or whatever. Car dealers don't have a great name. You know, I like to think our company's been around for a long time and that we stood the test of time because of our character and our integrity. But, you know, have patience. People are frustrated. Everybody's frustrated with COVID and masks and things of that nature. You guys are just not getting back together. People are getting frustrated with car dealers because they can't produce cars fast enough. And we're going to try to communicate with you guys all the way along the line. But it's important for you guys to know all those type of things, because that's not a statistical thing about the car business I just shared with you. It's not about Silicon Valley or how many cars are going to go. Is the market up? Is the market down? It's what my friends ask. It's what people ask me when they come in the line. I tell everybody I'm a world's worst speaker. I'm the village idiot. I'm not the expert. But I just love taking great care of our clients and love communicating clearly to them. And I hope this little bit that I shared with you guys helps. One thing I do know, and I got a friend who's a Nick Saban fan in the room. I don't know Richard Tex's name if you want to know if he is, and I think many know that he is. But he has a saying, he talks about resilience, but one thing about championship teams is that they're resilient. And I think as a people, we're pretty resilient. We're going to get through all this COVID stuff. My staff is in masks, my team's in masks, and we do it based on percentage of positivities. And I hate that we're there. I do. I hate this more than anything else. And so things are going to just get back to normal. But no matter what's thrown at us, no matter how deep the hole, we'll find a way to bounce back and overcome adversity. That's what we're going to do. But know that what happened with COVID, I can tell you right now, what happened with COVID, it's forever changed our industry. It's totally changed. And look for buying your cars online, look for wait times, and look for some of the cars that you used to like and love because they were the one-offs. Very hard to get, or you're going to wait 18 months. I don't have anything other than that, and I apologize for being all over the page. I'm just passionate about what I do, the company I work for, the friends and people I hang out with. And I thank you guys for the opportunity and time for me to get up to speak to you guys this afternoon.
Fascinating presentation by Kevin Snyder on the development, manufacturing, and marketing of cars in the automotive industry. We have a question from Jerry McCool for Kevin Snyder.
Can you take a moment and talk about the future self-driving vehicles?
Yes, so there's self-driving. So electrified cars, Jerry, I would tell you before self-driving cars, there's a lot of people that would like to go to self-driving cars now, but there's a lot of, it's about the liability. It's not so much, I think the technology is there. I think we'll start to see self-driving cars in the near future, but the biggest hurdle that we have to overcome is not the technology, it's not the production of those cars, is the liability of when that thing runs a stop sign or it harms somebody or kills somebody. And so we're probably in our world, I don't think it's in my, I've got about 10 years left in the automobile industry. I'm not going to see a fully 100% automated vehicle to the consumer as a retail car. I think you'll see you see pizza delivery vehicles, you see, some autonomous vehicles and drone drop-offs and things of that nature. You'll see more of that. You'll see it on the commercial side, but for the retail side, you driving one, me driving one in the future, or hopping in one. I think it's further out than we think, and we all argue about what that might look like.
How about electronically supported circuitry? How about supported electronics that assist the driver rather than actually takes over the control of the car? Stopping in critical situations, avoiding accidents.
That's there today. So most cars that, Subaru is pretty strong in that area. GM's announced the vehicle, and you've probably seen the commercial where they're clapping while they're driving down the road. If y'all seen some of that, it's driving free. Most of your Acura product today for 11 seconds, and then it tells you grab the wheel. But technically speaking, if every 11 seconds you did one of these things on your steering wheel, it will drive down 95 all the way to Atlanta if you want to keep tapping the wheel. The issue is it's not fully developed yet, but it's there. Collision mitigating braking system is what we like to call the CMBS, which is that active cruise control. Stop stuff exists today. blind spot radars, cross beams that come across radars, all that is in just about every vehicle. It's a standard feature. Honda used to be a product that, or a setup that you could get if you want to pay additional dollars for it. Acura called it Acura Watch, but it's standard equipment now in just about every single vehicle that you'll see on the street right now.
Kevin, a race against the clock. I've got a question over here from Josh Harris.
Thank you for speaking with us today. I've done some research on and outside of Frank's all battery powered car. You know, cobalt mining and lithium and what to do with the batteries. You know, I feel like there's been this big rubber band away from fossil fuels for obvious reasons, but from what I've studied and read, that's still a pretty gross process, especially cobalt mining, and it's not easy to get to. I feel like the truth is somewhere in the middle. Like maybe there's a hybrid where we're getting 50 miles a gallon, even for a full-size pickup truck. I just wondering if you had any comment on that.
Again, not trying to be the resident expert in that space, but it's not fully thought out yet. And when you read, you've read a lot, and I have as well, but you know, it's all over the page. You know, that the fact that what do we do with batteries, how we dispose them. There's an article out most recently about a gentleman in Germany bought a used Tesla, and he went to take it down to get, it has a battery issue. And to replace the batteries in that automobile, it is more than what he paid for the automobile. And so, and he's viral now if you want to get on YouTube. And there's a video of him blowing it up. So he blew up his electrical vehicle. And those are some of the challenges that they're still faced with. But I will tell you, you know, the manufacturers have committed to the government. The manufacturers have said that we're going to bring down this space. We're going to get away from fossil fuels. In 2030, we're going to be electrified. In 2030, it's 2022. We're not talking about decades. We're talking about less than a decade. That a predominant amount of our commercial vehicles will be electrified. Trucks will be electric. Ford's rolling out an all-electric Lightning truck that will do 400 miles on one charge, if you will. Comes with a frunk, you know. But there's a lot of confusion on what we do when we get there, because those batteries have to be dumped somewhere, and that's going to be pollution in the whole next thing.
Kevin, I know we're in overtime right now. I'm going to ask Eric Schultz to stick around and ask his question. Jeff Ludwig up first.
The car I waited so long for would have come out of your Chevrolet store, and you probably know what that would have been. The question is this, and this is why I waited so long and actually went out of town. When we shop in Jacksonville, almost uniformly at any dealer, there's the $750, $900 printed, I call it profit line, you know, handling line. Came out of litigation some years ago with Mercedes-Benz store, but now I'm seeing, when I took my wife and I went out to look for a car, Hanania store is now adding on top of that a $1,200 mandatory package that you buy. That's really putting air in your tires and washing your car, basically, what it comes down to. But what they're doing, they're trying to sell this air that you get, this fluff. It's a great deal, which it's not. It's the $750, $800 plus their $1,300, $1,200 little special package. It's such a good deal. And I feel like that not only is it wrong, but it seems like they're taking advantage of the consuming public. And what is Duval Ford and Scott McRae's position on these add-on profit items in these tough times?
And that's a good question. And we've taken the stance. And I'm not saying that we don't have additional items on our vehicles. We do. We like to tell you that they're value-added options. I don't have any air for $1,200. We do have an insured product that if you decide you don't want to do it as a paint protection, so you'll see some of that on there. But other than that, we took this stance. And that precedent was set by Brumos, as you said, right? So that's where the dealer fee came from. Everybody in the state of Florida, with the exception of 2 dealers to our knowledge, have what they call a dealer fee. And it is additional profit passed down to the dealer. It truly is, right? If you take it off of a car, you're subject to discrimination suits and things of that nature. And that's where Brumos got to the class action lawsuit to answer the question of the dealer fee. But when it comes to what is on there, we took this stance, and we sell cars at MSRP. We think that's fair. We know that today The average markup on MSRP, depending upon the car, is about $6,500 marked up over what the manufacturer says. In some cases, $18,000. The Ford Bronco, dealer to dealer, hey, Mr. Dealer, you want to take one of my cars? Is $18,000 is the markup. We sell Ford Broncos today at MSRP. That's what it should be. So we do have stickers that create value options in there, no error. That's our stance. We think it's the best way to protect you and to keep you, quote unquote, a friend of our company. And that's kind of our stance on the answer question. Sorry for taking so much time.
How about another round of applause for Kevin Snyder? Chair Schultz, I'm going to ask you to stick around for your question afterwards. President Ike, back to you.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, there's more questions. So Kevin, if we get you to stick around a little bit. Several people have more questions. Thank you for being here, Kevin. Thank you, Jeff and Richard, for bringing Kevin. And conversely, thank you, Kevin, for supporting their Rotary journey. They're important, active members of our club, and we couldn't do it without them. So thank you. Next week, our speaker will be Chandra Manning, the Chief Operating Officer from Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center. We'll be meeting right here in Timaquana, and then we'll be a virtual cast on Zoom. Don't forget to RSVP for the Valentine's Social. There will be a cap. And Tom Snyder has the Bloodmobile hooked up coming back in March. Date will be announced the next meeting. Mark Eldridge will lead us in the four-way test.
Please join me in saying the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, second, third, and fourth.
Today's quote of the day: when you're a leader, there are no days off. The GOAT, Tom Brady.
Thank you, sir. Another one.